Hi vinyl community, Morten Aastad here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to what is becoming a tradition. Yes, it's the not very official 2025 vinyl tag as set out or constructed or made by the great son of South Shields, David Atkinson. So he has very generously taken time to create what I assume will be this year's vinyl tag premiere, the premiere vinyl tag of 2025. Has to be when it's, when he is the source. And well, it's a long one, so let's get started and dive right in. The first thing he wants us to do is to show a record which is considered by yourself, in this case me, the best purchase of 2025. And it was a tough one, and I guess I sort of made things more difficult than they needed to be in a way. One thought immediately was supposed to show maybe the biggest and most expensive and so on was with the Rolling Stones Black and Blue Super Deluxe edition, where I went for the vinyl version this time. But then I also thought, well, what about the greatest reissue for me this year? Which, could be super furry animals. But then I thought, no, there's still one missing for me to have a completion on that one. How about pulp different class? I haven't lived with this one very long yet. I think I got it about a month ago. And it's a really, really great box. And then I thought, well, this is the vinyl tag, so I can't show my favorite CD of 2025. And what would that be? And I thought maybe this one, because I always buy CDs by the Stereophonics, and this was their latest one, and it's a really good album. But my final sort of decision fell on this one. Now, this is far from the best album that I've gotten in 2025. It's rather actually not a very good, musically a very good record, but it was the final record by the Style Council. And it wasn't even released by the record company. And the Style Council disbanded, and Paul Weller took his soul and Style Council soul and the jam rock sensibilities, and he went on a solo career which has lasted ever since. And he is, of course, hailed as the greatest musician, more or less, in the UK, give or take. But anyway, I managed to get Modernism by the Style Council, and what was special for me was that it's not only completed my Style Council vinyl record collection. I did have it on CD in a box set, which is somewhere behind me, but I had never thought I would be able to get this. And in fact, because I was not aware that it had a relatively recent reissue. And then I stumbled across it on finn.no, which is the Norwegian equivalent to, well, eBay or Craigslist or such things. So not at all too expensive either. So that was great to get this and finish up that Style Council studio album vinyl collection. The second question was, what was your favorite or best concert experience of 2025? I've been to only two, I think. If I remember correctly, one of them was Belle and Sebastian, or was it Keen? No, I think Keen was around this time last year. It's a concert that I ended up going to on the day I found out, and I have to thank my nephew for making it happen, that I could get in there. And I have the poster. I still haven't framed it. I've been meaning to, but... So this is the poster from the Hard Quartet. Back in, was it June or July? I think it says so down here. Oslo, yeah, 12th of June. And the Hard Quartet, for those who don't know, I have a video showing their record, and also a video about that concert. It is like it's an indie supergroup of sorts, with both American and Australian members, but the main man is Stephen Malkmus, who is of course Stephen Malkmus of the Jigs and Stephen Malkmus of Pavement. So that was a great experience. Number 3, your vinyl collection in 10 years time. Is it bigger, smaller, or about the same? Explain why. Very difficult to say. If my health stays relatively okay, if my financial situation doesn't deteriorate completely, I would guess it would continue to grow. I don't really... I mean, I collect music. It's one of my passions, and I don't really like getting rid of records, because of most of the records I do have, I do like. 1 or 2 duds, and some of them will appear in this video. Number 4, you move into a new home. What is... You play 1 record turned up to 11 to announce your arrival. What is it and why? So I actually picked out Rock Exile on Main Street with the starting track there, and I thought about the Rollings. I thought about lots of Rolling Stones, because the Rolling Stones tends to be, I have a tradition where the last song I play in a year is a Rolling Stones song, and the first song I play in a year is a Rolling Stones song. But I thought about it a little bit, and I thought also, I want to show this band, but I couldn't really get them in anywhere. And I thought, if I go into a new house and I crank up this song really loud and maybe break with tradition a bit, because I moved to a new home, which is something I do hope to do somewhere down the line, I thought about Music for the Masses by Depeche Mode. And, Never Let Me Down Again. Just, to me, this is my favorite Depeche Mode record. And for me, this is where Depeche Mode became the Depeche Mode of the classic years, with Alan Wilder doing all his studio magic, and the songwriting and the mood, and the visual aspects with Anton Corbijn, and the photographs and the videos. And for the next couple of records, this was the greatest Depeche Mode, in many ways, for me personally anyway, until Alan Wilder unfortunately left the band. So I think I would crank up this one. Now, will I remember? Number 5, show 2 albums, 1 each for your favorite male and female singer. Why these 2? Again, this is one where I ended up just, cut the crap and just choose something, because when you have been listening to music and getting your own music since you were about 6 years old, and your record collection spans personally now almost 50 years, you have so many favorites. And like I said, the Rolling Stones is a favorite, but is Mick Jagger my favorite singer? No. Is Paul Simon? No, he's one of them. Is Eddie Vedder? For sure, but also again one of them. And it's just I got stuck in a loop. So what I did was one of the, it's not necessarily a premier vocalist or anything, but I associate this record with this melancholy, which works for us Scandinavians, and it's such a wonderful album. And it is the solo debut album of Ian McCulloch with Candleland. And this is just such a wonderful record. of course, I wasn't very privy to what was going on with Echo and the Bunnymen at the time, so I didn't know that this in a way was, you know, basically heralded the end of Echo and the Bunnymen, because this was before internet and everything. But yeah, so I remember I bought this on a cassette coming back the day I walked from the train station to the tram after being on a class trip to Italy. And I thought, oh, bonus Echo and the Bunnymen. It's such a wonderful record. So this is what I chose for this video. Now, as for female, one of the female artists that have always resonated with me, with, you know, the sweet pop songs, and later the deeper melancholy, or even a bit of an Americana, I suppose. And just because she's just seems like such a great person, and she's gorgeous, and still is. And I was so in love with the Danish actress Iben Hjejle, not least from, you know, the High Fidelity movie. And I feel like, as you know, beautiful blonde Scandinavian girls and women, she's like the female Iben Hjejle, although Swedish. So it would be Nina Persson from the Cardigans. So we get a little Scandinavia in here, hopefully a couple of more times during this video. And this is live. Swedish pressing, so songs are not necessarily the ones you remember if you remember this album from back in the day, with, you know, Carnival and Gordon's Garden Party, Traveling with Charlie, Fine, Hey, Get Out of My Way. So yeah, great album. And of course, there is 2 covers of Black Sabbath, which is just astonishing when you hear it in their sort of chamber pop version. Number 6, David says we like to have fun, so he wants us to show some soul or dance music. And I was like, wow, really? Could you make this any more difficult for me? And yeah, I don't know. Soul and Morten is not necessarily that goes together that well. And so I tried to do dance, and I thought about showing some Kylie Minogue, but I don't have the good Kylie Minogue dance albums on vinyl, so I skipped it. The Impossible Princess record is definitely not dance. That's her indie album. So I went Scandinavian for this one, and we start with Sweden again, with Body Talk by Robin. Wonderful Robin. And yeah, I'll just mention a couple of songs here. Fembot, really great song to walk and be on a treadmill walking for me this past year when I was at the health retreat. Don't fucking tell me what to do. Indestructible, dancehall queen. Yeah. So Robin is always a sure bet to get some people moving, in my opinion. The next one is Norwegian, and it was a new discovery for me this year. Electronic, a little bit of Roisin Murphy, a little bit of Goldfrapp, but a very much and entirely, of course, Ora the Molecule with Dance Therapy. So again, something I think you'll get you out on the dance floor. Norwegian with she's part Norwegian, part was it Guatemalan or Honduran or something like that from Central America. And you got songs like Løveskatt or Cyberfeber, Evig Ung, Let Me Dance. That works pretty well. And the next artist, more of a engineer and DJ, and he's worked with some electronic artists like Lindström, But as far as I know, this is his only studio album, and I think Big Dipper, my record shop here in Oslo, you know, the wonderful Big Dipper, I think they said that this might be their best-selling Norwegian record, and it just got another reissue, by the way. So this is the record It's Album Time with Todd Terje. Now, being Norwegian, again, you think, oh, but I don't understand. Then don't worry about it. Most of the songs don't have much of lyrics, and the ones that have is called Johnny and Mary, and features Brian Ferry on vocals. So just don't do the mistake I keep doing every time I play this record. I played at 33. It's actually 45. But it takes a little while to get that, so you have to get up and go, oh God, I can't believe I forgot that again. Number 7, a real stinker. Nominate a track you hate from an album you love. Why the hate? So I love this album, and I love the track Lost on this album. But what am I talking about? Viva la Vida, Coldplay, with it's Viva la Vida, Death and All His Friends. So the track is Lost, and I really like it. So why do I hate it? Well, I was actually going to thinking about showing 1 or 2 records where the song is ruined by what Morten can't stand, rap. But wait, Lost isn't ruined by rap. No, but Lost on Prospects March, which was sort of the leftover EP mini album with remixes and alternative versions. It features Lost Plus. Featuring a rap artist. I don't feel like mentioning the name even. And for example, also Keen had some songs and some Swedish artists that I really like, where the album sets a mood, and a song starts and sounds perfectly everything you want it to be, and then suddenly it switches and you get this rapper. For me, destroying the mood, because I can't stand rap music and rapping, but also because it seems completely unnecessary, and it seems like an attention grab to haul in people who wouldn't be listening to this music in the first place. And it's the same thing when you've seen like period drama, or like a film taking place in another galaxy or something, and the music and the people have been a certain way through the whole thing, or it's even been in an animated, and then the film is over, and when the text showing up, I can't remember what that's called right now, rulletext in my language, and they feature some modern hip hop or Beyonce type music or something like that, and it just ruins the mood. And the thing is, when I now listen to Viva la Vida and I listen to Lost, I keep remembering this Lost Plus thing, and it ruins it for me. Number 8, if you had to choose one album from each of the past 6 decades, which one would it be? So 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, and teens. And again, I went straight for the Rolling Stones for the 60s, and I thought, well, hang on now, because you always show the Rolling Stones. How about the Beatles? And well, I don't really have Beatles vinyl. Well, I have one, but I think it came out in 1970. It was the Let It Be US comp. And I looked at this and I looked at that, and I thought, well, a record that makes me really happy and a band that really makes me glad every time I listen to them is the Monkees. So I put back the Doors album, and then I chose Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited, the German version. If this doesn't make you happy, then you're dead. This is, I have the version with a regular cover, and I want the new audiophile one as one. Well, but you know, you got Salesman, She Hangs Out, Door into Summer, Love is Only Sleeping. Okay, cuddly toy, but still words. Hard to Believe, What Am I Doing Hanging Around, Peter, Percival, Patterson's Pet Pig Porky, Pleasant Valley Sunday, Daily Nightly, great song, Don't Call on Me, and well, ends on the highest high you can get with Star Collector. So there you are, guys, the Monkeys for the 60s. Now for the 70s, I grabbed a couple of records immediately, and I thought, well, no, I think I'll end up showing this in another question. And again, I gotta keep, Rolling Stones means a lot to me, but I can't let this take over. So, this record came out, and in the 70s, so I chose LA Woman by The Doors. Just such a wonderful record, and I have a very nice version. My collection of these, unfortunately, is not complete. One, because the second album was never released as one of these, and I don't have the Waiting for the Sun thing record. Now the next one was Near Torture, because that's the 80s, and so much of my music, you know, is the 80s, and also for the 70s and the 80s. You know, I would have liked to show some Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney is, I think, is absent from this, yeah. And I chose a Depeche Mode record, and then I flipped that around, so I've already shown that Depeche Mode record, because I can't do you know, one of these things without showing my favorite heavy metal band of all time, and my favorite heavy metal record of all time, which is Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden. I just absolutely love this album so much. It's so great. It's got such a cool cover. I mean, I love Blade Runner, so obviously this is right up my alley. But and this is when I saw them the first time on this tour in Drammenshallen here in Norway. And yeah, I love Alexander the Great, Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years. And this to me is the big, you know, Adrian Smith album. I think his songwriting on this is just sublime. So the 90s, again, so much amazing, great music, and but the music genre that defined me in the 90s, and the music genre that I felt was mine, you know, this is something that appeared while I was around. I was turning 20 in 91, and I was thinking about showing their debut album because it's such a cultural impact. But my favorite album by Pearl Jam is, of course, their second album. And yeah, I just love this album so much. I remember I was so happy when I finally got this on vinyl as well. I played it again and again. So Animal and Daughter. I love this song title as well. Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town. Yeah. So yeah, that's Pearl Jam. I love Pearl Jam a lot. Then we move into the noughties, and again, lots of things to choose from. Lots of new bands coming out of the UK, especially. You got the garage revival as well, the return of guitar bands. Of course, I skipped Britpop, but this band was lumped in with a moniker Cool Cymru, and as you know, I love Wales, and one of my absolute favorite bands of all time is the Super Furry Animals with their wonderful Rings Around the World. So I have 4 versions of this album, one on vinyl. I got my old CD from back in the day. I have the deluxe CD, which came out at the same time as this 20th reissue. The album came out in 2001. And I also have the DVD, because this record was recorded in surround sound and the follow-up as well. So yeah, just such a great album. I mean, you don't get a lot of Americans talking about super furry animals, but Norman Maslow does, and he's hailed this as something really spectacular as well. And it just warms my heart when someone on the west coast of America is talking about someone from the west coast of UK, well, Wales, you know. Alternate route to Vulcan Street, sidewalk, surfer girl. But it's not the end of the world. Respectable for the respectable. But my favorite song is here, juxtaposed with you. Love to hate all the people that you hate. I'm not in love with you, but I won't hold that against you. Yeah, wonderful album. And then we move into the 2010s, and again I ended up grabbing an album from the early part of that decade, and we're again going to Wales, because I can't make a vinyl tag and not mention Manic Street Preachers and this wonderful album, Postcards from a Young Man. So they started a new decade really strong. This is Tim Roth, by the way, and yeah, it's not war, just the end of love. They had some really strong albums around this time. They had you know, the one where they had a duet with Nina Persson. They did that album, which is the only Manic Street Preachers album I still don't have on vinyl, which is, you know, Journal for Plague Lovers, with leftover lyrics from their departed band member. So yeah, but wonderful album, absolutely fantastic. This one is so, yeah. Number 9, you get the opportunity to spend a day alone with one artist, walking a mountain trail, the beach, or hanging out in the city. Who would be that artist? So I went with Abby Dobson. Who's that? Abby Dobson was the singer in an Australian band that I adore. They only gave us 2 albums. This band was introduced to me by Rebecca. I've talked about her before. She was the Australian girl I fell in love with and went to Australia to meet after she'd already met me in Denmark. And then she broke up with me 3 days into my 2-month stay. But I did go to the Domain, the park behind Governor's House, and what is it, Macquarie's Chair, in Sydney, for one of the 2000 Olympics concerts held there. You know, ostensibly to see Neil Finn, but Paul Kelly was there as well, and Leonardo's Bride performed. Now, Abby, she lives in the Melbourne area, so I would hang out with her so she could show me around in Melbourne, where I haven't been, and talk to her about having, you know, Australia and her current musical career and all that stuff. And the next question David asked us was, so number 10 was your must-ask question. And I couldn't come up with anything, but I thought she was wearing something funny at that concert. And so I would ask her, do you still have the feathers? She was wearing huge feathers on her back. And as they started playing, it was, you know, dusk, and the biggest flying animals I've ever seen, huge bats, flew over the stage. And I remember I wrote something in an email because, of course, I was still heartbroken at that time. And it was about my experience, you know, going to the other side of the world, you know, being heartbroken and everything, and seeing her with her feathers and them and singing, even when I'm sleeping, and seeing those bats flying over. And I sent that in an email to their website, and I got a very nice reply. Number 11 is show a record that contains a track that always brings a tear to your eye, or you're a heartless bastard. Well, I'm a heartless, but no. So the problem that appeared here was that I immediately thought of a song, but I can't show it because it's on CD, and I know there was a little bit of a CD in the start, but of course I didn't choose that record because it was a CD, and this is the vinyl tag. I want to mention the song. It's by one of my favorite Australian, I'm going to say one of my favorite a lot in this video, but there you are. One of my favorite Australian artists, Paul Kelly, and who I saw in Sydney, by the way, like I think I just mentioned. And but that song is not on either of the two records, or four now actually, records I have on vinyl. It's called Winter Coat. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? I've got to show something. So the song that sort of gets me every time I sing along with it, and when I'm a little bit emotional, is of course on Keane's Hopes and Fears. It says 20 there because it's the 20th anniversary. And there's a track here called Everybody's Changing. And it says, and when I start singing along with this, I choke up. So it's so little time. Try to understand that I'm trying to make a move just to stay in the game. I try to stay awake and remember my name, but everybody's changing and I don't feel the same. So yeah, that's the choker. That's the one that tears wells up, something like that. Number 12 is show 3 albums from artists you've tried and tried to love, but you're questioning why you bother. So I interpret that as 3 albums that doesn't quite make the cut, or annoys you, or somehow fails in your eyes. And I'll start with one of my biggest disappointment last year. I think this record is really boring, and the musical style he is in his older days have decided to suddenly embrace is so against what he's done as a solo artist and what he did as a member of Suede. I tried to listen to this album several times, and it's just so disappointing. It's Good Grief, which is, Good Grief indeed, by Bernard Butler. This did not work for me. And the funny thing is, I bought this the same day as I bought the latest solo album by Johnny Marr, and I made a video where I opened both the records at the same time because I felt they were both two big guitar heroes from slightly different epochs, but this didn't work for me. Next up is this old classic. I know some people have sort of rediscovered this album and saying it's not as bad as it was, and it's actually quite good and so on. But a Metallica album where the drummer plays on a biscuit can, I assume containing Danish biscuits, and there's no guitar solos, and it's just so abrasive. And I do love the cover art though, but yeah, it's of course Sankt Anger by Metallica. And this was the last Metallica album I bought on vinyl because it was basically to make my collection on vinyl complete. And no, I'm not buying a Lulu. and I haven't bought the Garage Incorporated thing because it costs £85 in this country. And finally, an album by a band that I adore, and I listen to them all the time, especially if I want to relax a little bit or something, because I think it's cool and funky and great, and I love them. But this album is so boring, and it has no great moments. And they came off this album having been criticized that their previous album were moving too much into pop territory and away from their earlier jazzy, funky sensibilities. And this just made it worse. They made one more album after this, and then they didn't make anything for decades. And that album, which was called Retroglide, was great, but they haven't followed it up. They just keep touring, not making music. This is guaranteed by Level 42. And if there's one album by them you should avoid, it's this one. I won't say that I think the follow-up is great, but it does have some good harmonies and hooks, and the funkiness a little more up front. This is just, God, no. Sorry, Level 42. 13. Show an album by from an artist whose character disappoints you, or can you separate the artist from the art? So on Friday, the 22nd of July, 2011, I walked to work from where I am now, through the center of the city and to the harbor where I was working. And I walked up past the government building that day, which was sort of a block or two further up in town than I usually did. But it was a beautiful day, and I had a lot of time before I needed to be at work. It was a lovely morning. And there was a coffee shop there that I hadn't been to, and so I got a latte there, and I kept walking, and then got down at work, and then I sat down and started working. A couple of hours went past when I suddenly had this feeling like all the air, because I was, the building I was working in the harbor was the waiting room and ticket office for the ferries across the fjord and to the islands of Oslo. And I used to call it the aquarium. And I felt like, my ears were popping or something weird, like all the air was immediately suddenly sucked out of the room. And that was then followed up by a massive boom, really loud boom. And I couldn't quite discern where it came from. And I thought, has one of the ferries crashed into the dock or something? And I couldn't see or hear anything particular, but I noticed people started running, and gradually started running. And then a little more time passed, and I heard ambulances, and again they came in strange directions. I thought it was a different part of town, like the cruise harbor. Something had exploded. What had happened? And then the news started coming in that a bomb had exploded in front of the government building. And a little while later, some people who were covered in dust and shit all over them and came into my ticket office and said, I want to go home to Aastad, that's across the fjord. Are the ferries running? I don't have my ticket because I left it. And that guy had probably been inside that building. So I ran out to the people, the shipmates on the boats, and I told them, don't ask for tickets today, guys. So that was my one contribution, I suppose. And then later we hear about Utøya and people, young people being slaughtered by the terrorists. A couple of days pass, and at a concert in Poland, this guy opens his fucking mouth. And I don't want to say what he said, but I think I'll somehow make it visible there. So do I still listen to him? Yes, I recently got this record, and the funny thing is I heard someone else talk about him and things he said, because it was a response to me talking about the fact that he's recorded 2 albums now, that the one was held back by the record company due to probably someone canceling him. And his next album, he's shopping around and he can't get it released. And I thought, did he say something about Utøya and the terror in Oslo in 2011? And that's just a couple of weeks ago. I read up about it, and I must say, it's right now. It is coloring my. It's sort of gotten back to me. So yeah, that's the one artist I'm currently having a problem with. I talked about some other ones before, but I won't mention them because, yeah. Number 14. If you had to sell all your vinyl along with your record player, show the one album you would hold on to as a keepsake. You can. Like giving up your children, said the childless man. I ended up with The Who by Numbers. As you can see there, everything been filled in, and it's been filled in by my big brother, Reidar. He gave me his old copy when I was a kid, and I still have this copy, as you can see. Reidar is currently in the hospital. I visited him a couple of days ago, and I'm going to try and do so today. He's had surgery. He just turned 70, and he's my one sort of remaining family member. Yes, he has some kids, but we never see each other. And I have a brother that I don't want anything to do with. And then my sister, half-sister, she passed away back in 92, I think it was. Yeah, so Reidar gave me this, and I will try and hold on to this for as long as I live. Number 15, discuss your highlight of the VC year that was 2025. If it's got a video, link to it, but it could be a meetup or some other event. And the highlight for me was going to Stockholm because of health issues and so on. I haven't really been anywhere other than back and forth to Denmark over the years, and I was very happy because I managed to walk around a lot, and I'm walking much better and so on. And I visited a lot of record shops, which was nice as always, spending way too much money. And I met my first member of the VC. I met Jonas from Vinyl Stockholm, so that was really nice. And we had a fika, and we looked around at records at a couple of places, like one of my favorite record shops in the world, which is Pet Sounds. So that was really great, and I'll just show you the highlights as far as the records I got. This was about 7 or 8 days after the Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath farewell concert in Birmingham. I got my first Ozzy Osbourne record, which I have subsequently lost to theft. I got Speak of the Devil, and then equal amount of days after I got this, he passed away. So that was something I mentioned there. I found this copy, the first studio album by The Charlatans, Some Friendly on vinyl, which I was very, very happy to have found. It is a Swedish pressing as well, so that was great. That was at Nostalgipalasset. Speak of the Devil was at Mickes. And also, among other things, and I can't show them all, but I also got this odd thing from Echo and the Bunnymen. So this is what Echo and the Bunnymen was releasing and working on when Ian McCulloch released Candleland. This is the only Echo and the Bunnymen album recorded without Ian McCulloch on vocal. Number 16, name your favorite musical biopic, if you have one. Well, it's this one. Oh, that was my drawing of that one. Sorry, I gotta toot my horn a little bit. So it's this one, Control. Yes, indeed. This was the directing debut of Anton Corbijn, which who I talked about earlier, and this is of course the biopic about Ian Curtis from Joy Division. Directed by acclaimed photographer Anton Corbijn and based on Deborah Curtis' Touching from a Distance. Control is the story of the late Joy Division singer Ian Curtis' life from the band's rise to his tragic suicide. And that's the word I try to avoid using, but there it was written. So I mean, it's not a easy watch by any means, but it's a great biopic in my opinion, and my favorite. Number 17. Give 3 reasons why jazz matters and show a favorite album. I wrote down my dad. He was born in 1924. He would have turned 100 years old last year, and he was, of course, of a different musical generation. He was 14 years old when the Germans invaded Norway in 1940, you have to remember. So, or he turned 14. So when he, 1945, when Norway was liberated, jazz was liberated in a way. He later on, he also loved, he loved troubadours. He loved playing the guitar and playing old Norwegian visa song. We didn't initially share a lot of musical interests, and he sort of bought Paul McCartney to me because he thought at least he'll be listening to something better than that. Hoo. He didn't like Rolling Stones. Or Kiss or any of that. He did like some heavy metal though, because he could hear classical music elements in it. But we agreed on Cornelis Vreeswijk, and we agreed on Monica Zetterlund, and of course Monica Zetterlund, she made records together with this guy. Sakta vi går genom stan, with Bill Evans, and this is my favorite Bill Evans record. So I have a few jazz records, most of them on CD. I only got like half a dozen or something on vinyl, but this is definitely my favorite jazz album of all time. This is a nasty one. Number 18. You're an innocent man or woman on death row. They give you one last musical request. What do you ask for? And that gives me the opportunity to show one of my absolute all-time records, and one of the ones I was thinking about showing as what I would play in a new house, or what is the record I would hold on to no matter what. This is my copy of Sticky Fingers with the actual zipper. It's a German pressing, which I assume is at least from the late 70s when I got it. And the song I would listen to is in part because of my dear friend Anne Magnhild, who is a musician, and she's recorded a version of this that I love listening to from time to time. Which I wish I had some proper recordings by her, and the whole world should have had some proper recordings by Anne Magnhild. And it's Wild Horses. It's just one of my, again, talk about your near tearjerkers, eh? Number 19, sell your favorite artist to a new listener. Well, again, we're discussing what is my favorite artist, but so I want you to listen to this guy. No, hear me out. You have to get some music by Neil Finn. Neil Finn, now, let me finish. Neil Finn is from New Zealand, but also kind of Australia. And he was in this band. I'm sure you heard these guys. It's called Crowded House. This is one of the best pop albums of all time. He's such a wonderful songwriter. You need this. Absolutely. Wait a minute. I'll get something more to show you. Hang on. No, don't start with you don't think this is for you. If you haven't heard it, at least give it a chance, okay? He started... I can see your eyes rolling back in your head, but hear me out, please. He started in his brother's band. His brother Tim, he started a band in New Zealand, which is absolutely fantastic, called Split Ends. And a couple of albums in, he joins his big brother's band. And after a while, he starts writing these really cool, good pop songs, which elevates Split Ends to a new level. And this is True Colors. You have to have this. This has such wonderful songs, What's the Matter with You? And the wonderful I Got You. Missing Person. Oh, yeah. Split Ends. You get even more music from Neil Finn, And then, of course, he started a solo career. And I have loads of those, but unfortunately the 2 first solo albums aren't available on vinyl. Yeah, okay, so you'll only buy vinyl, but you could still buy Out of Silence. This is a record that he wrote and recorded from scratch while, the internet was watching him do it, and then performed the whole album with lots of people in the studio. It's just absolutely amazing. And then he started working with his brother again a couple of times, with the Finn brothers, with this gorgeous record. Look how pretty. This is the record I most needed at the time I most needed to hear it. And that's Ed O'Brien, from Radiohead, saying this. And if, then he records an album with his wife because all the kids have moved out. Pajama Club. His wife singing and playing bass guitar, and there they are. And some other bloke. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? And if you need any more convincing, he also works the time with his eldest son, Liam. Sorry, I'm excited, okay? And Liam is now, starting out his own band in New Zealand called Betcha Dupa, which was really cool. And then Neil, invited Liam and Elron, his other son, to join Crowded House. So they're now touring around with father and sons and everything. Yeah, okay, you'll think about it. Some people, eh? Anyway, we have a final. The final is in. Number 20. This is the worst one. You're arranging a VC meetup in 2026. No, I'm not. Excluding those you've already met, invite 3 people you most like to meet. Well, I don't like not including people. I don't like excluding people. And I'm thinking I was going to skip this. There are many people I would love to meet, but distance is of course a thing. But this is a fantasy thing, so you can just wish for it. So I would love to meet Mike and Mark and Chris and Jack and Rob over in the UK, Headley. And now I'm not mentioning everyone again. And then I would love to meet, some of those Canucks like Brian and Mark and Olivier and Jack. I think to go to Vancouver Island, that would have been really cool. Canada is a country I haven't been to. And of course, in the US, I would love to have met Mike and Steve and Sean and Russ, of course. He doesn't know me from Adam, but I would love to meet Norman Maslow. That would be cool. And Daryl and what's our other friend over there in Seattle? Russ just went shopping with him the other day, and Rob up there in Canada, and the Northern Vinyl guy, I just mentioned him, and JC, TJ, JT, all those guys. But I can't go to America because first of all, I don't want to because of who's running that shit show right now. I'd love to go back to the Pacific Northwest, of course, and to Colorado, and Aurora, where Steve is living now. But also, with the cartoons I make and post online, I would, be detained, and then I would be put into some sort of IC prison, IS prison, and at best, hopefully then shipped back home, having lost all my travel money and everything. So that won't happen. So how do I fix this? I think I'll stay in Scandinavia. Thank you very much. And then ask if we can meet up maybe, well, maybe I could show you guys Oslo. So I would like to meet Tommy from Tommy's Vinyl Note. He's from Finland, of course. I would love to meet, well, I've already met Jonas. So I think I would ask to meet Janne, who I had almost time to meet when I was in Stockholm, but yeah, it had been a kind of a long weekend, so I was going back home the day after. So Janne from Pops and Clicks, and of course from Dizzy's Music, I met Kim. That would be nice. So we could go shopping for records here in Oslo. So guys, that was my rather lengthy entry into this. Hopefully I can edit this down because I've been waffling about a bit. And please head on over to David's channel. Please head over to the people I've mentioned in my video. Please have a great Christmas if you're celebrating Yule this year. I don't think I will, for reasons I'm sure some of you are aware of. And I'll be just here in my little apartment in Oslo, and it's been yeah, good record year, and it's been a good year for comments and talking to you guys, befriending quite a few of you on Facebook and doing Messenger, even saying yes to Boz and Chris asking me to do you know, these live things. Failing miserably at Jack's contest. I didn't even watch my effort. I was so embarrassed. Anyway guys, god jul, and when it comes, gott nyttår from Morten in Oslo. Bye bye.